huge congratulations to Donna. Well, we've got Cornelia Meyer with us, as we've already mentioned, CEO of MRL Corporation. So let's get started, Cornelia. The Daily Telegraph says Cabinet Ministers have said to them it's a question of when, not if, when it comes to the Prime Minister stepping down.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit reminiscent of Tony Blair and Gordon Brown. Remember when they said when Tony Blair was asked to tell when he was stepping down, yeah, to step aside. Yeah, I feel sorry for her, and it's incredibly unhelpful because right now she should really concentrate on Brexit. This whole, brouhaha within the Conservative Party with, the Brexiteers, Jacob Rees-Mogg, Boris Johnson, conjuring up all the dissent is just not helpful because she now has to negotiate with Europe. She shouldn't have to negotiate within her own party.
But she is, and that is the reality. Today she delivers her speech at the Tory party conference last year. There were all sorts going on, letters falling down behind her. She lost her voice. There was a protester running in with his P45. I mean, it was chaos.
It was chaos. But I'm sure, people learn. And she has a good machine behind her, after all, Downing Street. So I'm sure she will be fine. It will be interesting to see what she says beyond Brexit. Remember, when she came into power, she said she wanted to have the country should be for everybody, and she wanted to be the Prime Minister of everybody. So it will be interesting what she has to say on those things as well.
Well, that's going to be one of her lines, actually. We're saying on BBC Online that, she's going to say we are thinking of everybody, those hard-working families. So she's going to announce no tax rises on petrol, a freeze on petrol on the part of the government.
Ninth year in a row, right?
For the 9th year in a row. Just to say, in the UK, the tax on petrol is higher here than in many, many countries around the world. When you compare it to the United States, it's something else.
In Europe, close to 80% of every pound you spend on petrol doesn't go to the nice oil producers in the Middle East. It goes to our government.
Let's have a look then at The Independent, which of course talks about Boris Johnson, who you've mentioned, because he had a packed room yesterday on the fringes of the conference. There were queues lapping the building
and
to
at the
get
same
in.
time, the Home Secretary, Sajid Javid, made actually some very pertinent points, and nobody listened.
To quite an empty
hall,
room.
which is quite.
But I found this article in The
something.
Independent quite interesting, where it talks about his leadership chances. They say they have increased, and they talk about seasoned Borisologists who were weighing up what he had to say in his speech, and they talked about the fact that it had a lot of typical Johnsonian audacity, all these new phrases that we might have to become familiar with.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and it also says, well, there's no time for a new election, where I actually would question them, because when you look, about 2 weeks ago, Emily Thornberry said, we will vote down whatever Theresa May comes up with the Brexit deal, and oh no, we don't want another referendum, we will go for an election.
Well, actually, this is going back to the Telegraph. The Telegraph argues the Cabinet is saying she must step down because the election was such a disaster last time, the snap election that she called. She played it all wrong, and they don't want to go through that experience again. Let's look at the Financial Times. Amazon raises the minimum wage as critics prompt Bezos to listen. He is the world's richest man, I believe. He says he's listening. $15 an hour in the US, £9.50 an hour in the UK.
It's good. It's good, and even Bernie Sanders congratulates him and says he's done the right thing. Now look, they have underpaid a lot. They're employing something like 550,000 people globally. They have underpaid a lot of people. A lot of people are on hourly wages. It's not easy. So it's good. And what gets me with Amazon is they pay so little, and a lot of the people who work for them have to go and claim benefits because they can't make ends meet, and they pay so little taxes. So good on him. He's finally done something right.
This is those who actually work for Amazon, but all those people who deliver the goods, they don't work for Amazon.
No, that's
the delivery drivers.
That's a very good. That's a very good point. But the other thing is, it will affect the bottom line 900 billion to 1.8 billion, and that's not even 1%. 900 million to 1.8 billion, not even 1% of their yearly revenue.
Now, where are you? This is in the South China Morning Post with the digital strip search that you have to undergo if you're going into New Zealand and they think you have something to hide.
Well, I don't hide from customs officials. B, if I had a piece of kit on me which had proprietary client information, that would really be a problem, which is why I tend not to travel with such kit.
What if you have to, though? You know, you're a lawyer or someone of that nature.
Well, you have to. I mean, I tend to have. I tend to have things shipped electronically and then be installed on the other end. But the interesting thing here is if they want to have access to I have a very dull life. They're welcome.
I don't believe that at all. Don't believe that for a minute. So we've heard from many viewers who have given us your thoughts on this. So we've got Angela Smith. She's in the UK. She says necessary steps, she believes. In today's world of evolving threats, we need to arm our authorities with the tools they need to protect us all. I have no issue with it. We have another viewer, Andre Faso, if I pronounced your name right, Andre. He's in Auckland. Me being a New Zealander finds this to be an inappropriate way to do security checks, and it will also be violating our privacy, which is an appalling thing to do in a free country like New Zealand. Is New Zealand really a country where these checks are necessary? That's an interesting thought. I mean, many are for, some are against. Gareth, says this is surely an invasion of our privacy.
But, it may be an invasion of our privacy, but on the other hand, we have to keep our borders safe. And, nobody, with this threat of terrorism, nobody, absolutely nobody and no country is safe. So I have sympathy. It's just the proprietary client information, but there are ways around it. So we just need to learn to be clever.
Australia is congratulating itself on a health policy it implemented some years ago, which was very controversial at the time. Sydney Morning Herald now has a story, cervical cancer to be eliminated from Australia as a global first. So all young people are vaccinated for a certain type of infection that could lead to this type of cancer, and it's having great effect.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, that's really, really good, and those are the wonderful breakthroughs of science, and great. And we're going to go to the next story, which also has a lot to do with science.
Yes, Donna Strickland from Canada, who got the Nobel Prize for Physics. She is there with two other scientists. The first woman to do so for quite some time.
Yeah, and it's fantastic.
The third woman, should I say, not the first woman, but
she's
the
the
first for
third
55
woman,
years.
First for 55, yeah. And she's my personal idol, Marie Curie. Is being in that league is fantastic. But what, I was actually very shocked when I heard that. I think that over the last 3 years there was no Nobel Prize going to a woman. That was interesting.
In science.
In science, yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting. So having her in, great.
It's been quite a week, actually, for first. We have the first chief economist, female chief economist at the International Monetary Fund announced this week as well. So quite some step forward.
Well, it's a step forward.
And a necessary one.
And a necessary one, but in the end, I always hope that just the most capable person wins, be the person, man or
regardless
woman.
of gender.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I know, for example, in STEM subjects, science, technology, maths, etc., they are so trying to encourage young girls to take on those subjects. Yeah. And this kind of role model, Donna Strickland, will enable that.
It's fantastic. We need more women, but we also need more men in those, in engineering, in physics. There are too many economists, MBAs floating around. I know. Too many of us floating around. We need more scientists who actually can do things.
Yeah, absolutely. Can they fix Brexit, though? Can they negotiate with the European Commission?
Oh dear.
In engineering? That would be interesting. Thanks for coming in, Cornelia. Great to